What could be the role potentially for adherence technology to help us kind of pick up if there may be some circadian dysregulation or irregular dosing patterns
Yeah,
potentially?
I think this is a great question. And I think this has
Yeah.
been the issue for us in the field for so long. And, I was just saying to someone just recently at a meeting, if I could have my dream come true, it would be actually to have just to wave my magic wand and have patients stay on their medication, stay on the medication,
Yeah.
because non adherence is probably the biggest contributor to unfavorable health outcomes. We respect people's autonomy. We respect people's decision making. Those types of health decisions, of course, are very individualistic. They're to be respected. But too often, what's happening is non adherence is not even evaluated, not even appreciated. I think we're all guilty of it, sort of not in my backyard phenomenon. And frankly, other than asking patients to take your medications or occasionally checking the pill bottle or checking the renewals, that's a fairly crude way to do it. And I think we're going to agree that having a continuous monitoring of your heart with an Apple app is kind of interesting. It's probably quite
Hmm.
valid.
Yep.
Continuously monitoring motoric activity with actigraphy sounds interesting. And having some type of continuous adherence monitoring of your medication through, use of a bottle, how often you're using it. I see this in the world of open AI, the digital revolution. This is not some type of Las Vegas convention show kind of interesting thing to talk about. This is the future of medicine. And the
Hmm.
future of medicine is a digital fingerprint of the patient, including behaviors, that is sleep, appetitive, locomotor, but also adherence to the therapies. Adherence technologies are the future, quite frankly.
Right. So you're talking about not only at the clinical aspect, but what about at the clinical trials when we do
Oh,
research?
yeah.
Can we maybe speak to that a little bit, like how this could potentially help from there too?
Yeah, absolutely, Jerry. I know you're quite familiar with this. When we conduct
Yeah.
clinical trials, we look at placebo as the almighty mountain that we have to get
Hmm.
over, and we do a clinical trial, randomized,
Right.
double-blind, placebo-controlled, all that good stuff. And then often what happens is the medication fails to beat the placebo. Now, Jerry, I'm not a dour or morbid person, although I think Halloween's a good time, but
Yeah.
I don't walk through cemeteries. I'm not a kind of a superstitious person, but cemeteries are not quite my thing. But there's one cemetery I do walk through quite frequently, I have to confess. It's called the Pharmaceutical Cemetery. Drugs that have been buried, and many of them have been buried alive, is the way I say it, Jerry. They've been buried alive. They are actually alive, they're kicking, and they got buried. Why? Because the way that the study was designed, there wasn't adequate assessment of adherence, and the
Yeah.
people weren't taking the medication. And there's just countless examples that we all have who work in this area of drugs that were evaluated that at the end of the study, we find out through blood testing, they weren't even taking the medication a third of the time or more. So this isn't just an academic point. I mean, we don't want people to be in clinical trials on placebo and suffering unnecessarily if we don't even have proper adherence. There's obviously aspects about scientific integrity and interpretability. And obviously, we don't want drugs to be buried alive if they can help people. My goodness.
Exactly.
So this has huge ethical and scientific, economic development applications. So I think that in the world of clinical research, almost never do I see compliance and adherence assessed in a way that would be accused of being sophisticated, and to have the
Yeah.
technology to incorporate it in the protocols as a factor that would determine or would inform us as to whether there's been fidelity to the treatment is not just a data point. It obviously should be entered into the interpretability of the data. So just like we get so caught up, Jerry, the days of LOCF and
Right.
MMRM and missing data and patient dropouts, people often ask us, oh, okay, how many patients dropped out of the study? Okay, a third of them. Well, okay, well then how does that affect the interpretability of the study? That's a great question. But nobody asks, how adherent were people in the study?
Yeah.
Right? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
No one
Yeah.
asked the question.
To
Right?
me, it's the most important variable
Yeah,
that we don't
absolutely.
measure. We have
Absolutely it is.
clinical
Absolutely it is.
research assistants come out. We
Yeah.
look at the statistical analysis. We look at the dosing, when it was, especially in an outpatient study, right?
Yeah,
Do we know the
absolutely.
patient actually take it? Is it the most important variable that we
It
don't?
truly is.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
truly is.
is there's actually active medicine in the person, but Anyway, Roger, I thank you. I learned a great deal. Every single time I meet with you, I always learn something. I thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting with you again on a future Adhere Tech
That sounds
podcast.
wonderful.
Take care,
Okay,
Roger.
take care.
Thank
Take
you.
care.